Morning, my dear students. Again, I'm back with your e-learning initiative that is taken by Cambridge International School. So we are going to start with second chapter today. Again, so chapter number 2, the name of the chapter is Consumers Equilibrium and your subject is economics. Topic today we are going to cover in this class is cardinal utility approach and the law of DMU. DMU here is not the name of any train, but yes, this is a law. So I just named it as DMU because you will learn it easily. This is diminishing marginal utility. So this is something very new to you as you pass grade 10 and as you're going to pass grade 10 and then we have not learned anything like this, but this is the pure economics which we're going to study in this. So law of diminishing marginal utility, we're going to discuss about this. So your grade is grade 11 and teacher, my name is Sarita Sani. So I'm going to explain with today's topics. So let's move. The first topic which we are going to cover for the chapter is introduction. So in the introduction part, we will talk about the consumer, who is a consumer. So who is customer? I'll give you difference between both. Then the next thing is a cardinal utility approach. We will discuss about this. Here the another approach with this is we will learn about utility first, and another approach is ordinal utility approach. So in our syllabus, that is only the cardinal utility approach. We will talk about this concept of utility, what is utility, how we measure utility. So these are something new which you're going to learn in this. Next thing is law of diminishing marginal utility. So we will explain the law like I told you earlier even. So what do you have to do it in the law? First thing is the definition, another thing is the assumptions, and then applicability with the law. Then we have to give the that schedule for the law. So we will make with the help of table. That schedule is also known as table. So we will discuss about that. And now the next thing which we are going to discuss is the that is the explanation of the law with the diagram. So we will learn about this and what are the different stages. Then in the end we are going to discuss about what other things we can explore for this. So I have added this point for this class so that we will learn more about the law of diminishing marginal utility, because this law is universally applicable and we can use it for everything. So it is useful in our daily lives even. Now, the last thing which we have to do is again the questions to be done for today related to the topics which we have covered, which we are going to cover in today's lesson. So let's start with today's lesson. The first topic which we're going to do is consumer. So who is a consumer? So we have got definition even. So there is always a word customer and consumer. These both are interchangeably people use, but there is a difference between consumer and customer. So let's study first the definition of who is a consumer. So definition of consumer we're going to learn first. Any person who buys any commodity or service is a user of such commodity or service is known as consumer. So if we are using any commodity, any service, so or we are using for this we buy this commodity or service, so we call this as a consumer. So we are the consumer. So now any person must satisfy two conditions to claim himself as a consumer. So if you want to be consumer, so there are two conditions. First condition is the service must must have been rendered to him. So that means if I'm the consumer, so I should have some kind of services. I should render some kind of services. If I'm giving services to someone, so I have to render services. Like if I'm a teacher, sorry, if you are my student, so I'm giving some services to you. So what is that? You people are consumers, so you're paying for that. Next thing is he must have paid or promised to pay for the same. Yes, so again payment and the services, something should be we can say give and take relationship should be there. So if we are doing like that, and the person who is using the services, that person feels satisfied while spending money and using those services, we call that person as a consumer. Now the last thing is, if any person buy capital goods to provide services to other individuals, then he is also recognized as consumer. Now, what are capital goods? So, what are capital goods? Let me explain you. Capital goods are those goods which are used for making further things. So, we can take the example of machines which we are using for producing more goods. So, capital goods are those goods which are used for making more money. Fine. So, if any person buy capital goods, means any person bought a machine, he has his own in the industry, so he is using that machine to provide services to other individuals, so he is using that machine to provide goods to or services to other people, so he is recognized as consumer. So who is he is also an he is also a consumer. Next thing, what is the difference between customer and consumer? So the customer buys the product. Customer, what he do? He buys the product, and what the consumes, but the consumer uses it. So consumer is using that particular product. So if you're buying any product, like you're buying any toy, so that will be, you people are customer. So if you are consuming, like you are consuming biscuits, you are consuming milk, so you people, you are using that particular product, so you are consuming that product, so you people are called as consumer. So if you are using that product, then you are customer. I hope this is clear to you now. Sometimes they are different people, so sometimes consumer and customer are different people. Fine. I hope this is clear to you. Now let's move on to the next topic. So what is utility? Utility as such, we can say, means the satisfaction obtained from consuming a commodity. In simple words, I can say want satisfying power of a commodity is called utility. So utility is want satisfying power of a commodity is called utility. So how we measure this? So we measure into the units of utils. So there are two approaches when we talk about utility. The first approach is cardinal approach and another approach is ordinal approach. But in our syllabus, that is only the cardinal approach which we have to use. Now, the next flowchart is given to you and the basic meaning is given here. So cardinal measurement of utility is done with the help of two approaches, cardinal and ordinal approach. And cardinal approach means something that is measurable. So if we are applying, if we are able to find the value of a commodity in the terms of utility, which is measurable, which can be in the form of 1, 2, 3, or which can be countable, so we call that as your cardinal approach. And which cannot be measured or which cannot be countable, we call that as your ordinal approach. Now, let's move back to the things which we have already discussed. So, cardinal approach is utility theory says. So, what is the cardinal approach says? Cardinal utility theory says that utility is measurable and placing a number of alternatives so that the utility can be added. So, it can be utilized. We can take many goods, many. Now the next thing is it is measured in the units called utils. So when we talk about ordinal approach is, as you know, we have discussed in the previous flow chart, that it cannot be measured. So it can be only compared. Like we compare person, he is good, he is not good. So we are not having any information about the how much he is not good, how much he is bad, how much he is average in the behavior, so that is not measurable. So simply we call it as good or bad. It is qualitative based on qualities. So ordinal approach uses the ranking of alternatives as first, second and third. So who is the first person, second person and third? So who has got the first position, second position, third position? So we are just talking about ranks, we are not talking about any measurements here. Let's move on to the next thing already covered. So the next concept which we were talking about, that was utility. So with the utility, we have two types of utility. First is the total utility, and other is the marginal utility. So how we calculate it, that is very simple. When we are including all the units, all the utils, all the units which we consumed for a commodity, we call it as total utility. The total satisfaction we got from all the units which we consumed is called total utility, and if we add or less one more unit of commodity, then it will be the marginal utility. So what effect that we are getting when we are adding one more unit? So usually what happen, it is a daily life concept. So if we are like, we go on consuming one unit, one and again. For example, I can give you, when you are eating food and your mama has cooked your favorite dish. So in that case, what happened? We usually have more units of the commodity. So we like it and we enjoy it. The first bite, the utility which we are getting, the utils which we are getting, satisfaction which we are getting with the first bite, that is very high, always very, very high. And as we go on consuming the same bites, same chapatis, then after some time we feel the satisfaction which we are getting at the first unit was now started declining. So when we add all the satisfaction, all the utils, all the units we consumed, their satisfaction level, then it is total utility. So what is that? Total utility. So the formula for this is TUN is equal to U1, U2, U3, and it will be go on till UN. That means this is the formula how we are calculating the total utility. Next thing is marginal utility. This is also very important concept when we are talking about the utility. So marginal utility is the additional utility obtained from an additional unit of any commodity consumed or acquired. Whatever we have consumed or acquired, it is measured the difference between the utility of two total units of a stock of consumption of a given commodity, that of consuming one unit less in stock considered in symbolic terms. So suppose I can give you the example, your mother has cooked Shahi Paneer and she has made four chapatis for you. Now what happened? In the end, you feel like your tummy is full, and what happened? Your mother said there is one more chapati that is she had made for you, and now you have to finish that even. So in this case, what happened? So whatever the satisfaction you got by using all the units of the commodity, three chapatis, then suddenly you have to add one more chapati for eating purpose. In that point, we will be always having negative returns. So what will happen? The satisfaction we got already from all the units we consumed, now it will start declining. So that is the concept of diminishing. Diminishing is decreasing, declining. So it will just start now declining. So your interest after some time, like you are studying only one subject for the full day, and you were doing your best for that, but after some time what happened, by doing same subject for many hours, what happens, your utility, your like interest in the subject, satisfaction of doing that subject is starts declining. So that is again the same concept of marginal utility. Now let's move on to the graph which we are seeing in the next uh, on the right hand side of the this slide. So the first graph show you the total utility. So total utility is starting from origin point, it starts increasing. At one point it will be maximum when you say mama now my tummy is full, and after that till last bite of the last chapati you feel now you are satisfied and you don't require anything after that. So that is how your total utility work. Now, if I talk about extra unit, now what happened is utility will be declining. So from 20 units to now it is declining to 0, and then afterwards it becomes negative. Now what happens? I can give you very nice example for this. Suppose somebody has given you like box of gulab jamun. Now what happened? You love those gulab jamuns. Now what happened? You wanted to eat all the gulab jamun. What happened? You were eating first, then second, then third, then fourth, then fifth, then sixth. So you consumed almost 6 units, and after some time you again felt I have to eat more. So you were eating 7 and 8 units. Now you had 8 gulab jamun. So what happened? Exactly the same point, like total utility curve is there. So your utility was increasing. You were eating first and you were feeling good and you were having next one. Then again you were eating next and then you were feeling good and then you wanted to have more. So with this you will be at the point of saturation where you feel now I don't require much. So still the gulab jamun that you have in the hand, that is not finished. So you want to finish that one until that last bite of your gulab jamun. So you will be feeling the utility, total utility is declining. Now, if you have to eat more, and then again after some time what happened exactly, it is in our daily life also. If you are getting all the things again and again similar again and again, you need to still eat more with gulab jamun. Now what happened? Somebody came to your home and again your mother has served gulab jamun in front of you, and again you have to eat those gulab jamun. So you can think of the situation. So this is the situation of MU. So what happens? You were not ready to eat, but still you were not ready to eat, but still you have to eat. So here comes your negative returns. You will never wanted to eat gulab jamun in the next few months of your life, because your marginal utility of consuming one more unit of the same product, same gulab jamun, now it is something that you are feeling that is more than required you have consumed. So in this case what happens? You're feeling like I don't want to eat gulab jamun now in my life. So it is the case of your marginal utility. Now let's move to the next thing, next concept. Here is the next. So here is the next slide which we are going to cover now, relationship between TU and MU. As I've given you wonderful example, now I can think about the next example, that is ice cream. So suppose we are consuming ice cream cups because this is a summer season. So everybody wants to even enjoy ice cream at home. So let's take example with ice cream. Now TU increase with an increase in consumption of commodity as long as MU is positive. So TU is always increasing till the timing we are feeling that ice cream is very tasty and we wanted to consume as much as units till we feel satisfied. So till the point when MU will become maximum, before that point we are enjoying our ice cream. Fine. Now till that point MU is always positive. So that is the point till fourth unit. So now in this phase, TU increases but at diminishing rate. So TU is always increasing but at very less rate, diminishing rate. But MU from each successive units lead tends to diminish. So MU is increasing very fast, in a very fast rate. So it will be start declining. So you can see the line of MU curve. So that will be started declining, and till fourth unit it is positive but it is declining. But if we are talking about TU, that is always increasing. It is increasing. Now at the second stage we can say when TU reaches its maximum. So TU in the fifth unit, that is reaches to the maximum point, means you don't want to eat more of ice cream now. You are satisfied regarding having your ice cream. Now let's move to the next of MU. So at the point when TU becomes maximum, MU becomes 0. That means the marginal utility from the additional unit which we wanted to consume, it will now end here. So we are consuming now no more units of ice cream. So your satisfaction level is declining with this point of satiety. So this is known as point of satiety, means point of saturation. That means you are not able to add more, you will not have more of the goods, more of the commodity for consumption purpose. So TU curve stops rising at this stage. So TU will stops rising here. Now after this it starts declining, but it will be declining at very less rate as compared to MU. So after this point 0, MU will also start declining. Until this point also it will start declining. So it will become negative in the end and at the 6th unit. So let's talk about this now in the third stage. When consumption is increased beyond the point of satiety, means your stomach is already full and you are still consuming the same commodity. Now what happened? Your stomach will, you will have stomach ache, then you are feeling like vomit. So what are these? These are negative returns. So here is the MU becomes negative here. So you are not supposed to eat more of those goods, those commodities in future. So let's move on to the now next thing. I hope this is clear to you, and this relationship is very important. Yes, so let's have the next main topic of today's class, that is law of diminishing marginal utility. So again, we have done, this is mainly based on marginal utility. So MU curve, we have discussed about that. Now law of diminishing marginal utility, what is the definition? So the first thing which we have to do for law is definition, then applicability, then assumptions, then we have to talk about the schedule, then we have to talk about the, that is the explanation and the curve for the this particular law. So this is how we are explaining always the laws. So law of diminishing marginal utility, that is DMU, states that as we consume more and more units of a commodity, the utility derived from each successive unit goes on decreasing. So the same thing again. So as we consume more and more of the goods, so we feel bored or we feel like not consuming more of that particular good. So what is that? That is diminishing marginal utility. So our capacity or satisfaction level now starts declining with this. Next thing is applicability. This law is applicable universal. This law of DMU has universal applicability. Universal applicability means we can apply anywhere in the universe. So it is applicable on all the goods and services. It is always like applied on different areas. So we need not to think that any of the thing that is present in the universe where this law is not applied. It is applied everywhere. So now this law was first given by, who has given this law? German economist H. Gaussen. So he has given, it is also known as Gaussen first law of consumption because of the name of the scientist who has given this law. So this law is again known as Gaussen first law of consumption. We have few more names for this law, but we will discuss in the end of the class. So let's move on to the next thing, that is assumptions of law of DMU. Now, what are the assumptions? The things which we have to keep before we are talking about law of diminishing marginal utility. The first thing is cardinal measurement of utility. Yes, it is assumed that utility can be measured and a consumer can express his satisfaction in the quantitative terms such as 1, 2, 3. So whatever the measurement of utility we are doing, that should be measurable in the terms of numeric value. So this is the first point. Second point is monetary measurement of utility. Yes, if you are able to measure the utility of a product in the form of money, so that is the second assumption for law of DMU. Now third is consumption of reasonable commodity quantity. So what is that? It is assumed that the reasonable quantity of the commodity is consumed. Like we are consuming one glass of water and we go on consuming all this water. So if you're feeling thirsty, you will never think to take water in a spoon and then drink and then feel satisfied. You always think of having glasses of water. So what is that? That means consumption of reasonable quantity. So what we are doing? We are doing consumption of reasonable quantity of a product or commodity. Next is continuous consumption. We have to go on consume the same commodity, same products again and again. Similar product, and without there should not be any time gap while we are consuming the particular product. Next is no change in quality. The product which we are consuming, if we are taking the like Amul's ice cream. So we should consume all the units of Amul only. We should not think of changing the quality of the product. So this is the fifth assumption. Now, next is rational consumer. The consumer is assumed to be rational who measures, calculates and compares the utilities of different commodities and aims at maximizing total satisfaction. Means consumer will always think the commodity which he is consuming, it should be like according to the price which we are paying, and it should be satisfying him. So this is what they're talking about. Next thing is independent utilities. Now, it is assumed that all the commodities consumed by the consumer are independent. So, MU from one commodity is independent from other MU of other commodity. So, this is always we have to keep it in our mind. Next thing is MU of money remains constant. So, money's, as it is very important aspect. So, money's MU will never decline. It remains constant. It remains same. So we are always in need of money, and as we have more and more money, we never feel our boredom for having more money. So we wanted to have more money till the end of life even. Next thing is fixed income and prices. Yes, so it is assumed that the income of the consumer and prices of the goods are always the same, and it will not be changing. So this is the point. Last thing is perfect knowledge. It is assumed that consumer knows the different goods on which his income can be spent and the utility that he is likely to get out of such consumption. It means that the consumer has perfect knowledge of the various choices available to him. So this is the point. Now we have to move further the about the last two topics. The next thing is the schedule of DMU. So you can see the schedule with units of ice cream. We have taken 6 units of ice cream. Total utility from the first unit of ice cream, we are getting 20. And then as we can, if you have to calculate TU and MU, we can calculate it easily. So what we are taking, utility is taken into the main. Fine. So from utility, we are able to find out marginal utility. So what happened? 1 unit we consumed, the utility will be same, and the marginal utility is again same. So total utility is 20 units and marginal utility is 20 units again. Now what happened? In the second unit, when we consume for ice cream, the total utility for the unit is increasing. As you know, the curve of total utility always increase. So it is increasing now 20 to 36. Now margin utility is start declining. So it is 16 now. So the margin utility started declining. Now till third unit, 46 is the utility for total utility which we are getting from the third unit of ice cream which we consume. Now for margin utility, it is started declining. So how we are calculating this? Like 20 to 36. First unit was 20 for margin utility. 36 minus 20, it will be 16. Then 46 minus 36, it will be 10 for margin utility. Similarly, fourth unit, we get total utility of 50 utils. Now, for finding out your margin utility, what we are doing, we are just taking 50 minus 46 into consideration. Then we are getting the value that is 4 for margin utility. Again, 50 for the fifth unit, and for 55th unit, there is no change in the total utility. That means 50 minus 50, that is 0. We have mentioned that total utility now at this point is this is the point of satiety. That means we will not increase and we are satisfying till this point. So this is the point. Now for margin utility, it becomes 0. So this is the point when it starts declining and it is about to touch the origin point line. Sorry, the end of the y-axis, sorry, x-axis, so that they are touching. And now the next thing is sixth is 44 units. Now again total utility started declining. Now when total utility started declining, so margin utility also started declining, it becomes negative. In this I can explain you ki total utility is the like intelligent person, and the other person is the like copycat person. Margin utility is like copycat person, and whatever total utility will do, it will just go against that margin utility will go against that particular thing. So when total utility is increasing, margin utility is decreasing. When total utility becomes stable, margin utility becomes zero. Then when total utility start declining, then margin utility becomes negative. So whatever total utility will do, that person, margin utility person will do it as copy, and it will do it in more excess. You can say the excess of something. Now let's move with the schedule. We have to discuss about the last part, that is the explanation on the basis of your. So the curve for this is again the last which we have done the curve. So as we consume more, so first utility for the first unit of ice cream is 20 utils. Then it started declining and it becomes the first point which where we consumed, that was A, and then second point is B, where we consumed 2 units of ice cream and we got utils, we got satisfaction utility of B, that is. Then after this third unit we got the utility that is at point C, and now at the fourth point we got the utility that is D, and at the last fifth point mu becomes 0, and then afterwards it becomes negative in the end. Now what else things we have to think about now of law of diminishing margin utility. The last thing is mu may increase initially. In the beginning it may increase, but in the end it may not increase. It is always negative. No indication about the rate of fall in mu. So we are not able to find out how much rate of fall in mu, if mu may increase in initially. Fine. Next thing is synonyms. Synonyms is other names for the law of DMU. First name is given to this is fundamental law of satisfaction. Second name is fundamental psychological law. So let's move on to the next slide. So the last part of your chapter we have finished. Questions. So questions to be done for today. So as you know, define customer, consumer. So consumer you need to explain here. We've done that. Then define utility, give name of its measuring unit. Then what are the two types of utilities? We have done total and marginal utility. Then total and marginal utility we have to define. Fine. And we have to give the formula for both. I have explained to you this. And even you can consider your books for this. Then is what are the three types of marginal utility? So this part is related to your graph which we have discussed. In the beginning we have marginal utility that is positive, and at the second point it is 0 marginal utility, then it becomes negative marginal utility. So you can explain all three types. Fine. Next is what is the relationship between TU and MU with the help of schedule and diagrams. We have done already, so you can do it in detail then again. So then last, law of diminishing marginal utility, like I told you all the steps. So what do you have to explain in this? Definition, then you have to give the statement we have already covered in the definition. So next thing is applicability, then is the assumptions, then we have to give the schedule, then we have to give the curve, and then we have to give the explanation of the curve. So in the end we have to give some of the other extra points for this. So I have given in the more about law of diminishing marginal utility, you have to give all these points. So that is all for today. So in the end I would say thank you, God bless you. So happy learning at home. Enjoy your study at home. So we are there to help you out. We are not sure when this COVID-19 pandemic will finish in the world, but still we are doing best to cope up with your study, and so that we will all not let you suffer for your future. So we are there to support you if you require any kind of help, any kind of knowledge regarding your economics. So I'll be there. You can call me at any time. So I feel this is the best way we can do it, and our school is doing. So happy learning, enjoy at home. God bless you. Take care of yourself and your parents. God bless you.